My name is J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner. My name is Cleo Duke Wright, and I own Cull Books at 677 Blue Hills Avenue in Hartford, Connecticut. Today, I wanted to do something a little different. And I'm going to be talking to those people in their 50s and below because, they 50s and below because they had TV back then. When I was a little girl, I think I saw my first TV when I was about 6 or 7, maybe 7 years old. And in Connecticut, we had one station that was Channel 8, and it went off, and then at night, after the late show at 11 o'clock, it went off, and after Nightcap Theater, and the older people in Connecticut remember, would go off, and then there was a test pattern until the morning. So, and everybody didn't have TV. So TV was very special. And then, Channel 18, Channel 30, and then Channel 3 came along when I was about 14 years old. But I'm telling you all this to tell you that we really used the library. And we read. My father had, we had paper and pencils and lots of books that he would get at secondhand stores and in Ma Bassinet's and wherever he could find a book. My father would get a book because he didn't have much education. He could read very, very little. Although we used to lay down with him on the floor as we watched TV, and he'd go through the paper, the comics, and he went through the paper. And I was very young when I knew that he didn't read well, but I surely never brought it up. He read the paper. And so reading was very important to us because that's where we got our imagination. And radio was still going on. Stories on radio were still going on, and we'd go to bed sometimes listening to The Long Ranger and The Shadow and different programs, and Molly Goldberg, that just popped into my head. I think Molly Goldberg was on television, on radio and television, and they would go, Molly Goldberg, and she'd be out the window, and she was the gossip of the town, I guess. So reading was very important. And I was very excited to get my first book, although it seemed to me that she gave it to me last. She wouldn't give me a book. And I have here one of the books that the teacher gave to us. I read this book when I was just a young girl. I think I was not in the first grade, maybe in the second grade. I don't know, but in the early grades, it's called Come Along, and the copyright on this book is 1949. So before most of you were born, and I'm going to read you a story out of this book. My favorite story to read. I just told it to you several weeks ago about the 5 brothers, or a month ago or so. So I'm not going to read that one because we've already heard it. But the story that was too big. This reminds me of me and my imagination when I was a little girl. Tommy Ball liked to tell big stories. Many of his stories were about things he had seen when he was all alone. He just made them up. Sometimes Tommy made his story so big that no one could believe it. His mother could not believe it. That was very bad, she said. Tommy's daddy laughed about the stories. He said, "Someday, Tommy, will find out it is better not to make a story too big." One day, Tommy and his Uncle Jack were out walking. They were talking about dogs. "I wish dogs could talk," said Uncle Jack. "I saw one that could talk," said Tommy. "It could talk and laugh. I heard it talking and laughing." Tommy was telling another big story. Uncle Jack never believed Tommy's stories, but he never said so. The two went on walking and talking. "It was a big dog," said Tommy. "It was as big as a calf." "That was a big dog," said Uncle Jack. "It was bigger than a calf," said Tommy. "I believe it was bigger than a cow. I believe it was bigger than an elephant. Yes, I know it was, Uncle Jack. I saw it and I talked to it." "It was much bigger than our cow." Tommy's stories got bigger and bigger as he was telling them. "Some stories are very hard to believe," said Uncle Jack. "It was a funny-looking dog," Tommy said. It was purple all over." "Purple?" cried Uncle Jack. "A purple dog that is bigger than a cow is very strange. Maybe it was a violet dog." "Did you get a good look at it?" "Yes, I saw it and I heard it," said Tommy. "I heard it talking and laughing. It talked to me and it was purple. A strange story," said Uncle Jack. The two went walking along. Uncle Jack looked at Tommy and said, "One part of the story is very strange. Did you really see that dog?" "Yes, really, Uncle Jack." "And was it really bigger than a cow? And was it purple?" "It was bigger than a cow," said Tommy. "It was as big as an elephant. It was purple and it did talk to me." "A purple dog that could talk. Said Uncle Jack. "That's the strange part of the story. It is as hard to believe as the story about the bridge that we will soon see." "What bridge, Uncle Jack?" asked Tommy. "A little red bridge," said Uncle Jack. "We will go over it on the way home. It looks just like many other bridges, but there is a strange story about it." "What is it? What is it, Uncle Jack?" Tommy asked. "I'd really like to hear the story." "It isn't much of a story," said Uncle Jack. "The strange part is what the bridge does." "What does it do?" "I'd like to know." "I really don't know," said Uncle Jack. "I have never seen it do anything, but they say it does a strange thing." "What?" Tommy asked. "Do you really want to know?" his uncle asked. "Yes, Uncle Jack," said Tommy. "I'd really like to know." If a story isn't true, they say that the bridge finds it out. "I'd like to know how it could do that," said Tommy. "So would I," said Uncle Jack. "But they say the bridge does just that. If a man tells anything that isn't true, the bridge finds it out that very day. It will not let the man go cross it. How can it stop him? I don't really know, said Uncle Jack. That is the strange part of the story. They say the bridge lets the man get on. Then down it goes into the water. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm going to go on with this story, but we're going to have a break right now, and we're going to find out just what Uncle Jack is talking about. We'll be right back.
What happens in the voting booth stays in the voting booth. Even if someone wheels you up to the polling station after buying your groceries or paying you by the hour to door knock, you still can vote like an independent thinker. Vote like you're demanding better police accountability. Vote like you're demanding functioning schools that put Hartford children first. Vote like you're demanding your mayor puts Hartford residents and neighborhoods first. Vote like Hartford's government belongs to you, the constituent. Because to the party, you are just a vote. However, to me, you are a constituent, my boss, and I work for you. So when you go into the voting booth, have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for a man you can trust to be accountable to the constituents of Hartford. My name is J. Stan McCauley. I'm an independent thinker, and I approve this message. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, November the 5th, 2019, in the general election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. And remember, what happens in the voting booth stays in the voting booth. Escape the plantation of party politics and free your political mind.
Welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner. Now, we were telling the story about big stories that aren't quite true, and Tommy has told a really big story about this really big purple dog. But Uncle Jack has a story of his own about a little bridge. And Uncle Jack tells him a story that if you get onto the bridge and you are not telling the truth, you go down into the water. Tommy did not like that part of the story. How does the man get out, he asked. They say that the one who goes down is never seen again, said Uncle Jack. Tommy wasn't happy now. He walked along a little way behind Uncle Jack. He wasn't talking. He was thinking hard about his uncle's story. Tommy wanted to say, that story isn't true, but he was afraid to say it. Uncle Jack, Tommy called, I'd like to know more about that bridge. If I tell a story that isn't true, will the bridge let me go across it? They say it goes down with the one who tells what isn't true, said his uncle. Again, Tommy kept still. He wanted to think about what he had better do. He began to be afraid of the bridge. Is it far to the bridge, Tommy asked. No, it isn't far, said Uncle Jack. Just a little ways down the road. You can't see the bridge from here because the road makes a turn, but you can see the turn, Tommy. It looks as if the road stops there, but it goes across the bridge. Come along. We will soon be there. That wasn't what Tommy wanted to hear. Tommy kept as far back as he could. He was really afraid of that bridge. It wasn't going across if he could help it. "Uncle Jack," he called out, "I think my shoe is coming off." Then he sat down in the road. Uncle Jack went back to look at the shoe. "The shoe looked all right to me," he said. "Look, Tommy, you can see where the bridge begins. It begins right at the turn of the road." Tommy's uncle went on down the road. Tommy got more and more afraid. He could begin to see the bridge now. The turn in the road wasn't far away. "Uncle Jack," he called, "I think I had better go home now. I'd like to go back the way we came." "Isn't this way good?" asked Uncle Jack. "This road goes right across the bridge. It will be fun to go across it." We are not afraid of it." Tommy kept far behind his uncle now. He wished he could take back all the big stories he had ever told. Tommy wanted Uncle Jack to stop, but his uncle kept right on going. Something had to be done right away. "Uncle Jack," Tommy cried, "I'd like to tell you something. That dog wasn't as big as an elephant. It wasn't bigger than a cow. I guess it wasn't as big as a calf." Uncle Jack did not turn around, but he waited for Tommy to come up to him. "Tommy, it is a good thing you told me that," said Uncle Jack. "Here is where the bridge begins." They had come to the turn in the road. Tommy saw the bridge right before him. How high over the water it stood! What if it went down with him? What would Uncle Jack tell his mother? Uncle Jack was on the bridge now. He was really going across it. Tommy got more and more afraid. Why had he ever told that story? Uncle Jack was across the bridge now. "Come on, Tommy," he called. "You are not afraid, are you?" "Wait, Uncle Jack," Tommy cried. "I'd better tell you something. That story I told about the purple dog isn't true. That dog wasn't big and it wasn't purple. I never heard it could talk or laugh. I made up that story." "It is a good thing you told me that," said Uncle Jack. "Now will it be all right for me to go across the bridge?" asked Tommy. "I think so," said Uncle Jack. And so it was. Tommy got across that bridge. Wow. Sometimes we tell these stories and we come right up to the point. If we don't tell the truth, something's going to happen. Have you ever been in that spot? You can't go left, you can't go right, and you know the story, the truth is going to come out. Now, what are you going to do? That has, well, it might have happened to Miss Cleo a couple of times where I'd tell a story and I'd have to kind of tell the truth. But, see, this is sometimes what I would do. If I had to tell the truth and I had nowhere to go, who should I go to tell the truth? Believe me, it was not Daddy. No. So, this is what I usually did. I went and I told my mother, and I'd say, "Mommy, you know that's not true. You know what I really did? I did this and I did that, and it's, you know, Daddy's gonna find out. And I was only playing. I didn't really mean it. Mommy, can you tell Daddy? Could you go tell Daddy that it was not for real, that Cleo was just pretending? Could could you tell him that, Cleo? She'd say to me, now you know better than that in your stories, because as anybody who ever knew me when I was growing up, I always had a story to tell. I'd make them up left and right. Well, let me tell you, yes, my mother was my advocate, so she would go and she would say, Nate, you know that story Cleo told you. She was just playing around, blah, blah, blah. I don't know what she said. And I don't know what my dad said. But I usually, he had a little smirk on his face sometimes when he came out from talking to my mother. And I never knew, was that the smirk that I was going to get spanked? Or did he enjoy the story? What was it? But usually I didn't get spanked. I got spanked plenty of times, but not on stories I told. Daddy would say, that girl sure can be embarrassing. But he never spanked me about a story. Because sometimes children are just like that. That's just their creative part. So be patient with those wild stories of children when they're telling stories like that. I mean, me and my brother, we found the devil. And we ran in the house. And I said, Philip, do you see that? Do you see the devil's horn? And Philip said, yes, I see it, Cleo. I said, yes, we found the devil. And we better go tell somebody. Yeah, because Philip, he didn't do any talking, but I did all the talking, telling my grandmother that I found the devil. And I saw his horn. And my grandmother was kind of like Uncle Jack in a way. She said, Cleo, you found the devil's horn? I said, yeah, Grandma, I found the devil's horn. I saw it down and I think she said, well, Cleo, I think you better go cover it up. So I probably wouldn't cover it up because we didn't want the devil to come out now. So all of these stories that I told, and maybe one day I'll have a few of my friends come in and tell you some of the wild stories that I would tell. And today, what did I become? What did I become? I became a storyteller. Isn't that a wonderful thing? A storyteller. And that's exactly what I was supposed to become. Although I wanted to be an actress and a dancer and a writer and all those other things, but I became a storyteller. I guess that's just the way it's supposed to be. Well, right now, we're going to come to the end of this segment. But before we go, I just want to, let's take a commercial, and I'll be right back to close us out. I'll be right back with you.
Independent thinkers are Puerto Rican, Mexican, Peruvian, Indian, Bosnian, Italian, Irish, Jamaican, African American, European, straight, gay, Nigerian, transgender, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, short, tall, skinny, rich, poor, happy, sad. Some of us hold a PhD and others a GED. And though we may be Democrats, Republicans, or members of the Working Families Party, we all have escaped the plantation of party politics and become independent thinkers because we as individuals are more than a party. You see, independent thinkers come from all walks of life, and the one thing we all have in common is that we love, live, laugh, and learn in the city of Hartford. We are the constituents, and the government of Hartford belongs to us. My name is J. Stan McCauley. I'm an independent thinker, and I approve this message because it's time to stop towing the party line and vote for a candidate you can trust. I'm asking you for your vote November the 5th, 2019 in the general election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. You too can escape the plantation of party politics if you have the courage to free your political mind.
Welcome back to Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner. And just before we sign off, I just wanted to introduce this. This is a book by A.J. Jacobs. It's called the Know-It-All book, and he just reminded me of myself and a lot of people out there. Everybody doesn't want to. Some people want books. Everybody doesn't want to read out of a computer or look up things in a computer. So AJ Jacobs, his goal was to read the Encyclopedia Britannica, all of it, because he wanted to know everything. And he sounds like he had a group of friends who wanted to know everything. So they get together and they just quiz each other about this, that, and the other thing. And I can remember using encyclopedias when I was doing reports in high school and in junior high. But I really never sat down and just read through an encyclopedia. I once wanted to read a whole dictionary, but I never did that. And so he has some interesting things. There's some interesting things in the encyclopedia. I didn't know there was exactly so much in it. But it was fun for me to read some of his book and to get meanings out of some things and just trivia. This is what people read, I guess, the encyclopedias when they're on those trivia shows, I guess. And he's a writer, and he loves words. And I found, why did I turn at this? Oh, heroin. I thought this was interesting that heroin was first developed by the Bear Company. They'll whisk your headache away faster than a couple of dozen aspirin. Take 2 syringefuls and call me in the morning or late afternoon. That was his little ha-ha. But I thought that was an interesting thing. I also thought that Jesse James, I thought Jesse James was sitting playing cards, and he had his back to the door, and the marshal came in and shot him. Is that the story you heard?
I didn't really hear that many stories about him.
Oh, well, that's
how he died, right?
And that's the story that's in the movies. All right, let me tell you this. The greatest robber of the Wild West died in 1882. He was shot in the back by a gang member while he was at home adjusting a picture. That doesn't seem right. Being shot in the back is bad enough, but while adjusting a picture, a notorious bandit shouldn't end his life engaging in interior design. Well, at least he wasn't crocheting throw pillows. So that story that we've been seeing all those years, it's not so. Oh, this is a little thing about Thomas Jefferson. Although so many of us admire Thomas Jefferson. I admire him too. So it says, Thomas Jefferson, more confusion. With Jefferson, I'm seeing the flip side of the Attila the Hun effect. Just as Attila had his good side, even the most amazing, accomplished, original, justice-loving men, loving men have their dark side. I knew about Jefferson's hypocrisy on slavery, which is evil enough to fill a couple of lifetimes, but it also says here that Jefferson paid newspaper reporters to libel his nemesis, John Adams. Now, I know You don't say, wow, because we have we live in a different world that I didn't know about. What a horrible fact. Do people have to be sleazy to succeed? I hope not. But if even Jefferson was, it makes me wonder. Makes me wonder too. In other news, Thomas Jefferson had very clean feet. Every morning he rose at dawn and washed them in cold water. So I just thought that those were interesting things. As I pondered through this, as I pondered through the book, there's so many other things there, and he has gotten through. I guess he's probably half finished with I think the copyright of this is 03. So I think that he probably has finished or near finished the Encyclopedia Britannica. But I just thought that those were interesting things. But there's nothing new under the sun, is there? Nothing new under the sun. Okay. That's my show today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll be back again next week with my final show. Whew, that's gonna be hard, but I hope you join me at Miss Cleo's Storytelling Corner next week. But for now, remember, read a little, write a little. You're right, dream big. And I'll see you next week.